All right, Spurs Nation, what's going on? It's a big day for the Spurs because we get to go to sleep a little bit more like happy. We get to kind of not be killing ourselves. Like I'm not going to be in the middle, waking up in the middle of the night like we lost a 20-point lead again. No, big win for the Spurs Nation, 136 to 117 over the Sacramento Kings. No Tyrese Halliburton tonight, but everyone else was there. And here tonight with me on this post game show on After the Buzzer, you're watching After the Buzzer. I got Jude McLaren from SSPN. What's going on,
What's
Jude?
up, y'all? Not much, man. I'm glad to be here talking about a Spurs win with you. It feels like it's been a minute.
Yeah, for sure. If you guys haven't, subscribed to SSPN, make sure you go over to their channel. All you gotta do is look it up, SSPN, and you can find all their work there. You guys just did a
We
grading
graded.
the
Yep.
first 10 games, right? So we're gonna get into this game, guys. It was a great win for the Spurs. What we're gonna do on this show is we're gonna give out a game ball. We're gonna talk a couple big stats, go over a glow spot, which is a positive area from tonight's game, and then a grow spot, which is an area that we can still improve on moving forward. But before we do that, Jude, on that, just because it was a great breakdown, kind of like grading the
Thank you.
roster that's getting minutes, right? You guys were kind of like a little bit specific on, you're just kind of grading the guys that were getting tick right now. Um, from those previous 10 games to this game coming in, I'm probably catching you off guard with this, but
No,
um,
you're good.
what was like who had like that big difference for you tonight when it was just like, they're on and it just makes everything so much easier from those previous 10 games that we've kind of gone through?
you know, when I look at the roster, and we're gonna get into this tonight, but when it comes to just because we graded every single player that has got significant minutes on the night, or that has played throughout this season, and word that correctly.
Mhm.
But the guy that we gave the highest grade to, well, I think it might have been a tie, but I think the highest grade that was given out, I think Ethan gave out this grade, was to Devin Vassell. And that's the guy that I got to roll with tonight. He only took 7 shots, and they were all threes, went
Yeah.
5 for 7.
Yeah.
And he's been playing well all year. So it may seem kind of weird when it comes to your question, but with the aggressiveness that he was having, that's, I think, the difference that we saw tonight. And like once he started hitting threes and was aggressive and just taking them regardless, I feel like that just like gave the confidence in this game specifically to the rest of our 3-point shooters on the roster to do the same thing. Because after he caught fire, you saw Lonnie shoot more. He got a little bit hot. Then you saw Bryn come in, basically kind of play the same way. And for the first time in a couple games, we saw him get hot.
Yeah.
And I believe, and even Dougie McBuckets came in there, and he was 1 for 2, I believe, like midway through the third quarter, or maybe might have not been something like that. But he ended up,
Getting it going.
catching fire, right? And
Yeah.
even you can talk about DeJounte if you want to a little bit too. So
Yeah.
I just think that, I mean, the spark plug that he is off the bench and the way that he was playing with those threes led to just, I mean, so many good things happening on the floor.
He's been the biggest bright spot aside from DeJounte on a consistent basis. I want to say over the last 4 to 6 games for sure. But all right, Spurs Nation. So we're gonna kind of dive into tonight's game against the Sacramento Kings. We're gonna start off by giving out a game ball. Tonight was one of those nights that we want to see more often from the San Antonio Spurs. We had 7 guys getting double figures. There's a lot of guys that stepped up in big moments, I feel like, scattered throughout the game. You had DeJounte Murray, who was doing DeJounte things, like every single quarter he was out there. Even Lonnie Walker, who I'm very critical on, like, of the show. I just happened to be, right, this season. But he had big moments. Vassell, like you were mentioning earlier, McBucket had some big moments. Drew turned it on in the second half. Thank God. But White, still, we'll talk about White later. But for the most part, I mean, he was doing great things on the defensive end too. He was coming over, getting help side blocks, just help side charges, challenging contests, drives to the rim in transition. So White was huge. And so for me, this game ball was really hard to give out tonight. But I think what I want to do was just go back to the moments where I felt like, here we go, here they come. And then, we just started answering back. So to me, that's, like I mentioned a little while ago, DeJounte Murray with 26 points. He was a plus 30. I don't even know how that happens, but he goes 2 for 5 from the 3-point line, 11 for 21 from the field. That's 50%. from the field, right? So, I mean, he was just hitting big shot after big shot, finished with 2 steals and 7 assists, 6 rebounds, right? So just, kind of stuffing it all in tonight, DeJounte Murray did. And I just felt he was that guy when the moments were there where I was getting worried about tonight's game. He was there to step up and kind of answer De'Aaron Fox, because De'Aaron Fox is really all they had going tonight for Sacramento. My dad was there at the game tonight. Shout out
Really?
shout out to my dad. I don't know if he's watching right now, maybe not, but he and my uncle, who's a veteran, right? It was Veterans Night over there.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah.
they definitely went to this game to just go have fun. And he was telling me that he was walking around in the third quarter and he can tell everybody had this feeling, right? Everyone was just like, it's not over yet. It's not over yet. And I was just like, man, everybody knows. Everybody just knows not to get too ahead of themselves yet. But DeJounte Murray was that guy who kept balancing that out for me tonight. So he's definitely getting my game ball. Who you dishing it out to, Jude?
Well, to be honest with you, going into this game, what I had written down was Devin. But since I already kind of talked about him, I'm going to roll with DeJounte too. And really, that was kind of going to be my disclaimer before I
Yeah.
even mentioned Devin. Was like, at this point of the season, it's kind of like, other than the Thunder
Yeah.
game, DeJounte could be given the game ball every night. I mean,
Yeah.
he's earning that contract. He's looking like a dude who, I know that this year we're not a championship contender, but in the future, when the Spurs will once again be a championship contender, DeJounte's looking like a guy who can be a piece on a championship team, whether that's 1, 2, or 3. I mean, DeJounte is still 25 years old, so he's going to keep getting better. That's yet to be seen. But he is proving how valuable he is to this organization. And coming into this year, and I believe even Ethan might have mentioned this on a show that we've done together, if DeJounte could just get a little better in a couple categories, getting to 27-7. I believe last year he was at like 17, 5-5 or 6-6, something like that. And that's basically, this is an example of what we saw tonight. We saw 6 rebounds, and normally he gets more than that, 7 assists, 26 points, and then of course DeJounte's usual 2 steals, and one you could argue he got robbed on that De'Aaron Fox foul call. Little phantom foul call in the eyes of a Spurs fan, right? We thought that was a great fast break for DeJounte.
Yeah.
But regardless, his scoring ability has just become so more consistent this year. I mean, this was something that, I remember thinking that DeJounte could become something like this, or wondering or hoping if DeJounte could become something like this when he was training with Kawhi Leonard in 2017 in the offseason. Like, I don't know if y'all remember those articles, but I do. And the way that he's come along to now, where he really just feels like on most nights he's a guy who can go for 20 and beat most guys off the dribble. And against a team like the Kings, and that's no slight to the Kings, they got a better record than us still after this win tonight. But at the same time, doing it against a team like this, is a team where that DeJounte should be able to get around 25 points, and he did that tonight. And I mean, just his overall play. What else more can I say? I think I've probably said it all on DeJounte, except for the fact that this is what it was. I remembered the way that he's getting more air under the ball. He's getting more arc on his shot. That was something that I noticed specifically in tonight's game. There's still some shots where he falls short a little bit, where the ball will be able, hit the front of the rim. But you can definitely tell that he is still working with Chip England, because those, those shots are getting a little bit more splashy, if you will. We're seeing a little bit more swishes from DeJounte.
Yes.
So you love to see that all around from the boy. And he's just going crazy this year for us.
Just to keep, rolling with DeJounte and that shot, man, there's something about the calmness, I think, is what the big difference is from, previous season, is that it looked a little herky-jerky. It looked like he kind of had to, there was a little hesitation, even though he even when he wouldn't hesitate, it kind of felt like there was hesitation there to even just shoot it versus, drive or whatever. But that's completely gone. He's stepping into 3-pointers.
So
he's off the dribble. It's just like butter. It's, it's there's no wasted motion. It's just one boom off the dribble, just goes straight up. And it just, like you said, it's splash city for DeJounte. And that's the big step that he's taken this season, is just in his jumper. Because everything else he's kind of been doing already. Last season, I think he took the big jump finishing at the rim. Like, I think he grew from game to game last year, finishing through contact, finishing around contact, whatever. This year, he's been putting that jumper, and he's definitely been unleashed. But shout out to the whole team. You know, we're gonna talk about a lot of glow spots and stuff when we continue on in the show, because everyone had the effort tonight. You can tell the focus was there. I don't know if it was just because it was Veterans Day and there were a lot of vets in the house, and you know you don't want to send them home
The
upset.
camo jerseys, the
Yeah,
legacy of the camo jerseys. It's a
exactly,
military
man.
city.
Exactly. Military City USA. Shout out Team USA basketball. I'm repping their shirt right now. But yeah, so guys, that was our game ball. We're both dishing it out to DeJounte, but great games from a number of players tonight in this big win for the Spurs. All right, guys. So when we get right back, we're gonna go ahead and talk about some big stats of the night. All right, guys, those of you guys that are watching live, thank you guys for hanging out. And if you're listening to this post live through Apple or Spotify podcast, make sure you go down and rate the podcast. I see the chat room's firing up right now. I see we got Zach Montana from Spurs Way podcast. He was at the game. Shout out Zach for taking that energy and blowing up the AT&T Center.
An OG in the game.
That's right. Shout out to Trevor Schultz as well, Patreon member in the live chat. So thank you guys for hanging out live. And if you're listening to this, if you're wondering, you know, when we do live shows, go ahead and check out SpursTubeTV.com and you can find out everything you need to there. All right. So, Jude, we're going to go ahead and talk about some big stats of the night. Now, there probably plenty that we can pick through in a win this. Yeah. But we're just some that stood out to you tonight.
Yeah, so the big one for me, you know, I wrote this down even before it was completely finished. And technically now I'm looking at it. We actually have one more 3-point shooter in there because my man Wieskamp came in and hit one. But before him, 6 guys hitting threes for the Spurs, 6 different guys. That is huge. And I wrote it down when it was just 5, you know, and I was like, that's a huge thing. And technically, like I said, it's actually 7 if you want to give Wieskamp some love there at the end. By the way, Wheezy F Baby, that I think it should be his nickname.
The key to the ladies.
No. Wheezy F Bucket. That's what I was going to say. There you go.
I like it.
When he hits threes. But I mean, the shooting overall, I mean, what was the percentage? Like, okay, 54% or 56% from 3 for the Spurs tonight, on top of 6 different dudes hitting it. You went 18 for 32. This is something that the Spurs and Spurs fans have been asking for probably since Kawhi left. I mean, in all honesty, and that's no offense to DeMar DeRozan. We know he's going crazy right now with the Bulls, and we only got love for him. But at the same time, you know, that kind of black hole mid-range offense we had to deal with for so many years with LaMarcus and DeMar, you know, is completely out of the picture tonight. I know that we still have had some 3-point struggles this year, but I mean, I really think that this all starts with Devin Vassell, man. Like I said at the beginning of the show, the way that he came in and was shooting those shots, I just feel like he set the example for the rest of the 3-point shooters on the team. And they were like, oh, I can just do that. And I could just do that. And then they did. And then they made their shots. So obviously this isn't going to work against everybody. This may not even work against the Kings when Tyrese Halliburton's playing. But still, with the way that this Spurs season is gone, to just see a night where everybody was in rhythm from three, and just see that we can actually like do this. We can go on runs where hey, like even if Devin gets a little cold, you know what? Then Lonnie's going to get hot where he hit those 3 straight threes. You know, we saw DeJounte pulling up, and even Doug McBuckets had a little bit of a slow start, but at the end, even like when I forget what moment this was in the fourth quarter, but it was when the Kings cut it to 118, 100, or maybe it was 110, 118. No, it was 118, 100. And it was like, oh boy, there's like 7 minutes left here. Like you said earlier, you could still, I was like, I don't even trust this 18-point lead, dude.
Yeah.
And then Doug McBuckets comes in, hits a 3. They have to call a timeout. And it's like, everybody was like, oh.
Yeah. Yes.
And that was literally like the entire game. Because if you look at the box score, we really only like beat them by a significant margin in that first quarter. And then they kept margin, kept pace with us for the rest of the game. But look, without those 3-point shooters, we're not able to keep pace with them for the rest of the game. And that wouldn't have allowed, if we didn't shoot like that, we would have found ourselves in a much tighter situation down the stretch.
It's a great point. Let's continue to talk about that 3-point shooting, man. Like you said, we'll start with Vassell. 5 for 7. Like he was 5 for 7. He was 5 for 7 from the
It's
field, and
ridiculous.
he was 5 for 7 from the three, like both. I don't know what percentage that is. It's
Let me do
over
some quick
60,
maths. Yeah.
whatever. It's high. Um, so yeah, Vassell was lighting it up tonight. Extremely efficient with
71 actually.
71%. He shot from like in general
Everywhere.
tonight. Yeah, from everywhere tonight. Didn't take no free throws, but that's fine. And tonight in a game like tonight, that's fine. But yeah, man, we're lighting it up from the 3-point line. McDermott, like you said, he put 4 in the hole. One for Keldon. Keldon hit one. He was 1 for 1, right? So that's good. It's a good thing. So the shooting was definitely there for us tonight, and I didn't even realize that, but you're absolutely right. In the first quarter, we beat them by 14, right? Like it was 34-20. And then if you combine, all the other 3 quarters, we only won by 5.
Yep. Yep.
Like, yeah, it was 34-37 in the second quarter, so we won by 3 points. We tied in the third, and then we only won by 2 points in the fourth quarter. So it was a game. So that is something that Spurs fans should feel excited about. They should feel happy about, because that is the problem of this team. That's been the problem over the past week or 2 weeks, that we've been able to generate leads. So I don't think anyone needs to look around in that locker room and be like, are we good enough to compete? No, that's not it. We're good enough. We can build leads just like everyone else in the NBA. So, we're not worse than the worst team, right? We can ball, right? But they held on to it tonight, and they had to fight. Thaddeus Young was huge tonight as well. A big stat for me though, going into tonight, was what were we going to do with Harrison Barnes? And I was worried about, Jock Landale got, not that he's been playing, but Jock Landale went into
Still the post depth is just done. Yeah.
yes, exactly, man. And then KBD was out too. I'm not sure why Kata was out. Do you know
He
why?
had I believe it was some minor injury. I think it was his back, they said.
Yeah,
But it's not something that is going to keep him out long.
because he was there, right? He was there on the bench
Yeah,
tonight.
yeah, he was there just in street clothes.
But I mean, that really did just put all the load on Thad and Drew. And I was like, Drew had a rough start. Drew Eubanks like turned it over 3 times, and the first 3 times he touched it and whatever. But I was like, Drew, get it together, man. It's a long game. We're gonna need you. Like, we're gonna need you to get it together. Like, get it out of your system, because I don't see us, like, who else? Who else? There's no one else, right?
And like, unless we're gonna play Wieskamp at center, like
Yeah, there was no one else
that
to
was
kind
the
of go
next.
to.
That was the only. That's why we had to call both of them up, just to have some sort of depth.
So luckily for us, Bagley doesn't want to go big either. They have freaking Chimezi Metu playing like the 3. I don't know what he was, or the 4. He was outside on the
Yeah,
perimeter
they
almost
they
all
wanted
night.
him. They had him playing the 4 next to Holmes.
So Barnes was their leading scorer coming into tonight. He was like, putting up 22 a game or something like that. We held him to 9 points, and I thought that was huge, because he's been getting recognition. Barnes has, like, for his play over the first 10 or so games, and he was my biggest worry tonight, because he's one of those guys that
Three
just
for
always
eight.
plays well against us. And we held him, and not only that, but for most of this game, it was only De'Aaron Fox and Chimezi Metu who were in double figures. I think Mitchell ended up with 13 as well. Heald ended up with 12. They kind of got a couple late there in the fourth quarter, but for the most part, man, we were doing some really good things on defense, and just kind of holding the rest of the team, keeping them in check tonight was a huge stat for me. And I was worried about that rebound number. Let me see, how do we do? We tied with them, actually. We tied with them in the rebounding column, so
Well,
that's good.
considering their size advantage, I'm cool with that tonight.
Yeah,
Obviously, there's going to be bigger problems going forward, when you got to play some teams like the Pacers, like we've already seen, who
yeah.
run those like big bigs. But tonight, to be able to compete like that on the boards was huge. But also, you talked about the defense on Harrison Barnes. I want to say Devin was on him most of the night when he
Mhm.
was out there. So shout out to Devin, not only on the offensive side of the floor tonight, but there's another thing that kind of went unnoticed during the game. Played
Yeah.
well on defense against one of the leading scorers. I didn't even realize Harrison Barnes had been doing
Yeah.
that in the first 10 games.
Yeah, I know. No, he's looking like Golden State Harrison Barnes a little bit. But I mean, this is gonna balance out a little bit. Again, no Tyrese Halliburton. We don't really know how much that affects this whole equation. We'll play Sacramento again throughout the season. um, and see what that looks like. But yeah, so I mean, those are some of the big stats for me. You got any more big stats before we move on?
I mean, like I said, it's really all just shooting tonight. Overall, they shot 53% too, which is super impressive as well. Oh, and just another one, Eubanks 10 for 13 from the free throw line. That would not have happened last year. That would not have happened last year.
Yeah.
So shout
I,
out to Eubanks for getting the work in on the free throws.
I felt like he wanted to show Chimezi, that hey, the Spurs made the right choice
Bro,
by picking me.
Messi was trying so hard. Just like, they get even in the preseason, they just let him go crazy against. I'm like, dude, what are
Yeah,
you doing? You're gonna lose the game if you let Chimezi shoot like 6 threes or whatever.
yeah. I'm
Like,
like, please.
yeah, we're like, go ahead, dude, give him the
Like,
green light. But
does Chimezi have
he
to be a
shot
Spur
seven
killer too?
threes, bro. He shot
I
seven.
know. That's what I'm saying. He was like on the perimeter. He wasn't doing much on the inside, and which is
Uh,
interesting because, I mean, he was out there and they had him doing that, and I was just, I don't know.
he only does that against the Spurs. Like, I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
because I was watching the
yeah.
Kings broadcast, and I'm pretty sure they were saying like on the year Chimezi is 1 for 3 for threes, but tonight they were just like, "Oh, it's your old team, bro. Go crazy." Like,
Yeah,
that's not gonna happen. It's Chimezi Metu.
yeah. Drew was like, not in my house, not tonight. A couple other little big ones that we can kind of lean on is that we only had 8 turnovers to their 14. Right,
That's
we
huge.
we forced them to turn it over 14 times. That's good. We had 10 steals which is I think we're averaging around 9 or so. So that's big. Um, to their 4 steals, right? Points in the paint, they did get us there by
Makes
8.
sense.
By 8, 56 to
Alex Len
48.
and Holmes were in
Alex
there
Lynn,
eating.
man. He was
He's
give
7 foot and he's
he was
got a
giving us the
6'8" dude
business.
on him.
Him versus Thaddeus Young was like fun to watch in a way because it was like, yeah, he's big, but Thad also can go to work. That was huge tonight.
I think he boxed him out, got a board one time. So credit to him there.
Yeah, there you go, Dad. Get dirty. Get dirty. He had 17 points tonight, 1 block, 1 steal, 8 assists, 5 rebounds,
Jeez,
7 for 10 from
bad
the
at
field,
17.
70%.
I didn't even realize he had 17. No, I mean he's been playing really good. Do not get me wrong, but he scores a quiet 17, man. It's just those little hooks
Yes.
every once in a while. But I mean, you love to see it when you look at the box score at the end of the game. 8 assists too. That's something you love to see out of a big man.
It is so weird to see him play that center position successfully, because like, yeah, we've been seeing him play it, and it's like, okay, the Spurs obviously, want to maybe fit him into like a small ball TJ or PJ Tucker.
It's kind of like Draymond. I never
Yeah,
thought
like
about that until
Draymond-ish role.
now.
Yes, exactly. And it's like, oh, he can like he's really smart and he can really put the ball on the
Super
on the on
experienced.
the money, like to a cutter, if it's off the bounce pass or just like the dump off. He's super smart and he's been able to finish with that little like hook. It's like I love it. It's like I love it. He's not trying to like when he gets the ball down low, he finishes, but it's
Yep.
because he gets it. He doesn't try to like, get all fancy on the big that
He's just
he's going against. He's huge. Thaddeus Young is huge. He's so broad. He just gives you like one boom, like and creates that little bit of space. And he's going up with his outside hand and he's putting on the floor. But Thad, you blew it, Thad. We had a beautiful 2014 ball movement. That's the only way I can say beautiful game ball movement play where it
is
was
this the
like dish,
turnover?
dish. No, it was like dish, pass, dish, pass, dish. And then someone dumped it off to Thaddeus Young. It was like in the fourth quarter, and
Okay.
he goes up and he misses it. It was like
Oh,
wide
that's right.
open.
No, that was DeJounte driving in, giving him this perfect pass where he was just like surprised that DeJounte was even going to make the extra pass in that situation
Mhm.
and went up and it just didn't go. It was like, oh,
It's like he went to just go lay it in real soft, and it just like died on the rim and fell out. Like,
yep.
oh, Dad, you ruined a
Would have been,
beautiful highlight, a beautiful highlight.
yes.
But other than that, Dad, you were great, right? So, thank you guys for watching right now. If you're watching live, make sure to smash that like button down below. If you're enjoying this episode, subscribe to the channel. We're dropping a lot of content here on the channel, a lot of post game content of what the Spurs are talking about after the game. Also, I'm doing this weekly Spurs versus the NBA series. I'm gonna try to do some more film breakdown episodes coming up, just to let you guys know in the future. But all right, let's go ahead and talk about some glow spots, like if we haven't been talking about those all night long this whole episode already. But we're going to talk a little bit more about some bright spots, Spurs Nation. If you're watching right now live or post live, Let me know in the comments or in the live chat who gets your game ball. What are your big stats and what is your glow and grow spot for tonight? All right, so let's go ahead and talk about some glow spots. All right, I'm gonna throw it to you first, Jude. What's like one of the glow spots from tonight that you liked?
No, yeah. So I had shooting written down. So that's something that we've also already talked about. It was literally just shooting from the 3-point line. But
Yeah.
when I look at the stat sheet at the end of the game, seeing Keldon go out and get 12 on a night where he didn't score too much, that's something that you really like to see as well. He had 4 assists and 3 steals too. I
Hmm.
think that may be a career high on steals for Keldon. I don't know if he's had a 3-steal game before.
Hmm.
But the way that he was able to find ways to contribute even when he knew his role in this game, if it makes sense. There, and like you said, there's a lot of things that we could go to. I mean, Eubanks having 18 tonight, that's something that you'd love to see. That might be a career high for him, right? I think
Maybe.
that might
We got to look
be.
at that. Yeah.
Yeah, we do need to look at that. The way that I mentioned this a little bit earlier, that Lonnie and Bryn were able to get into rhythm after starting the game kind of not in rhythm, the way that they were able to kind of seamlessly put themselves into the flow of the offense when the offense started flowing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You love to see that. But like I said, I mean, it's just the offensive onslaught, honestly, the offensive efficiency and the way that we were able to keep pace with them, even when they were scoring like 30 points a quarter. Just that never say die attitude. And if you guys watch this channel, you may have watched the clips that you made of like what Spurs say after the game. And in the last one, we heard Pop talk about like NBA teams don't die, they don't quit. And, I think that the guys got the message. That was, I think, the overall takeaway from this game is that the guys heard what he was saying. And even though they let him score a lot after they went up, they scored a lot also. So they
Yeah.
made sure that it turned out to be a W.
And you're absolutely right when you're talking about Forbes and Walker. I'm gonna definitely give Walker some shine right now, man, because he's in the growth spot almost every every game for me. I'm just like Lonnie, 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 right? Um, but tonight, 5 for 11 from the field, 2 for 5 from three. He got to the free throw line a couple times. That's huge because one of my biggest things is one of my issues with Lonnie is his aggressiveness and is willing to kind of go through contact and seek it out. Tonight he did a little bit better at that. He had a rebound. He had a rebound, which is good. For real though, I mean, he had 4 fouls. Or wait, how many fouls? No, he had 1 foul. Sorry, that was Devin
That was
Vassell had
Devin.
4. Yeah. But Walker and Forbes combining for 30 points off the bench is what you can say is the difference. It's like we've been kind of getting DeJounte every game. We've been getting Vassell every game so far. Thaddeus Young has been kind of trending upwards, but it's Lonnie being able to bring it. Forbes 6 for 11 from the field, crazy shots, a bunch of shots that I
I'd
hate him
throw
taking.
Doug McDermott in that category too. Not
For
to interrupt
sure.
you, but
No, yeah, for absolutely right. So it was just a massive production from the supporting cast. And I don't know if it was that we're at home or what. I know a lot of these guys are playing better at home so far this season. So, uh those two guys could have easily without their 30 points. I mean, look, we're down 10 or 15 or something like that. We're losing this game by 10 or 15 points. You know what I mean? So definitely I agree with you, man. The shooting was the story of the night. And those two guys brought it off the bench, man, for sure.
I think the intensity, that's something else too. That kind of just ties into the whole NBA teams don't quit. Like I loved the way like Keldon's been kind of doing this all year, but I felt it was a little bit different tonight where like mid play, he would like if somebody went and made a great play, he would like yell at them while they're running back down the court.
Yeah.
Or like there was that one time where he got a rebound and then it was right after Devin missed a 3. And instead of going back up with it, which we would have seen from Keldon probably last year, he swings it right back out to Devin. And what does Devin do? I think that was Devin's actually first 2 shots of the night. First was a missed 3, gets it right back to him, shoots it again, swish. And you saw DeJounte specifically kind of get hyped up at Keldon saying like, hey, that's like the right play to make.
Yes.
Like you making that extra pass, like that is such like a growth. I know we're talking about growth spot, that would have been a growth spot for Keldon, and tonight it was a glow spot. So, I mean, if we can see that, with guys just making the extra pass instead of just being like, oh, I'm right under the basket, let me go up with it. Making smart plays like that is just going to be huge for our team moving forward.
Man, that's a great point too, man. Keldon Johnson, there was that play that you're talking about where DJ just gave him a big like prop at the timeout for making that pass. And there was another one to Doug McDermott, I think in transition, right, where he kind of stopped and he did that little turnaround scoop behind me because he knew
Mm-hmm.
he was trailing behind him. And yeah, it was like Keldon didn't have to force it tonight. He was really leaning on his teammates, and he should kind of be that guy, but we need guys to hit shots. Keldon needs guys to hit shots. Keldon plays better when everyone's hitting shots around him. I think we know that. And when we need to rely on Keldon to make shots, we're in trouble. Like we're struggling in a lot of areas then. So great production. I didn't realize that Drew Eubanks had 18 points tonight. Jesus, 10 points from the free throw line. That's great. Good for him.
Yeah, if we want to kind of talk about that, because there's a lot of people in our comment section that is like, you guys make excuses for Eubanks. Eubanks is not, Eubanks is trash. Eubanks is just bad. Like, and we were on like it was kind of like, I don't know. I think some of them didn't get that we were like the whole thing was kind of a joke with Eubanks. Like, it's because it's Drew Eubanks. That's why we're like, he's the greatest player of all time. Like, he's not actually. We're just saying that because it's Drew Eubanks, right? And just the mentality that he plays with. And we've also said that like he struggled throughout the year. But we still felt like, hey, like there's some things that Drew Eubanks does that make him an NBA player for a reason.
Yes.
What is obviously tonight probably best scoring performance we've ever seen from him, even if it's mainly from the line. But what are kind of your overall thoughts on Eubanks this year and just him as a player moving forward?
I think he's definitely NBA ready. Like that shouldn't be a question anymore. Like among Spurs fans, is like, oh, Eubanks is he trash? Like no, like that should not be even a thing anymore. Maybe 2 years ago, um, when he was kind of getting spot minutes here, call ups from the G League, maybe. But at this point, we know what he does. We've always known what he does well, and he's shown over last season, getting some minutes last season, and definitely in the beginning of this season, is that he can do those things on a night-to-night basis. He can get you blocks. He can defend the rim. He's able to finish a little bit better around the basket. We can't really ask him to play make yet and
Yeah,
to be a
he
passer
makes
quite yet.
mistakes still.
He makes everybody does.
Yeah.
And a kind of a disappointing thing for me, and it's not really on him. It's just that we were hearing from Drew all offseason that he was going to be shooting the ball. And he shot like one
He
air
shot
ball
two.
three games
He
ago, and
splashed the first one, and then airball like bricked it bad, and
yeah,
Pop was like, "Never shoot again." And
yeah.
like that's literally what he said on the sideline.
But why you love Drew is I can go back to that play against Dallas where he turns it over off a bad pass, like we're talking about, right? It's like he makes like a bad pass a game, right? And that's fine. You can live with one or two bad passes from Drew a game because he's giving you so much more aggression, defense, attitude. He's solid. But that play against Dallas, he turned it over to Tim Hardaway Jr. Tim Hardaway Jr. brought it right back to his
I
face and
remember
tried to
this.
jam
Yep.
it on him. And
Swatted
he
it.
just swatted that stuff. So that shows you that he has the ability, and I was looking for it tonight, to brush things off and keep playing, next play mentality. Because you don't want Drew. It's the same thing with his 3-point shot. I wish he can forget about it already and shoot it once or twice a game. Check yourself. Check it. Are you hot or not? You know what I mean? Like let it fly at least once or twice. If it's an air ball, then yeah, just don't shoot it again the rest of the game. But that's the character in the dude. And that as a coach, it's like he moves up a lot of points. Like he gets a lot of points to have that mentality. And Drew, I love what he does. I've always been on the Drew train since he was in the G League, when it was like him or Chemezi. Who's it gonna be? I was always
Mhm.
like, it's Drew. It's not even a question. Drew does great things like bring energy and defense and tenacity. He's never gonna do too much. You know what I mean? He's always gonna do whatever you need him to do. So I think in the moment right now where he's asked to step up, I think that was a huge opportunity for Drew. I mean, like massive, undrafted, whatever, blah, blah, blah. You work, always knowing that I'm putting in this work because in the future there's going to be an opportunity. And whenever that opportunity comes, I have to be ready or it's on me. And that's like across for any sport and any job or whatever, and anyone in any walk of life. But to show that Drew, I mean, you can say that Drew has stepped up in all regards. He's not Jakob. He's not going to bring what Jakob brings to the table, but to insert him in the starting lineup, I think was a major opportunity for him. I don't think he's lost that yet. I think that has been kind of coming along saying like, hey, I should start. I should
Yeah.
probably be the one starting
But it
because
makes sense because he's
yeah.
like, I mean, how old is Thaddeus Young? How long has he been in the league? You know what I mean? And you compare Eubanks, he's really still kind of a developmental project to an extent. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're still working with Drew.
Yeah.
So like you said, we can't trust him to play make yet, but like it's not like his ceiling is necessarily like to an extent we know what Drew is going to be, but he's also still 24, right?
Yes, he has he moves up his own ceiling. We're like, oh, this is a ceiling, and then he's like, no, no, you see it. Okay, it's higher, it's higher, it's higher, and you see it in flashes. But I think that he has just it was a Spurs move. It was like the Spurs aren't going to start that over him because he's next and they're going to give him that opportunity. I thought they should. I was like, it's basketball. My basketball mind was like, start that because of blah, blah, blah. But they were like, hey, next man up mentality. Next man up is Drew, and Drew has to lose it, has to lose his spot. I feel like that's how the Spurs work. We're not like a profile team. Oh, Thad's a veteran guy. His name, it means he's going to start. No, he's going to have to earn it and go through games and this and that, and which he kind of is. But Drew, I love what he's been bringing to the table, man. So I'm glad you asked about him. He's a highlight definitely in this kind of rough spot that we're in with our bigs, where we need Drew every single night.
And just, I guess, one more thing on this. Like, we need Drew every single night. And the other thing is, though, too, hey, if Zach Collins or Jock Landale, obviously we know Jakob is ahead of him in the pecking order, but if Zach Collins and maybe Zach Collins and Jock Landale are more skilled than him and end up being the better players. But as of right now, like Drew's doing a lot for us, like you said. So I don't think he's trash and all that for sure.
No way. There's no way he's trash. Every
No.
single game he goes up and bodies somebody, blocks somebody, and makes very minimal mistakes. And that is hard to do in the NBA. So big shout out to Drew for holding it down. And if this was his career night, um, I wanted to bring this up in my episode that I let out today, but I said it a week ago, I think, or 2 weeks ago. That's why I didn't. Every week so far this season, we've had a different Spurs player achieve a career high in something,
Interesting.
right? Like first week, it was Doug McDermott, 7 threes in a game, right? He had never hit that many threes. The next week, it was Jakob Poeltl with like 28 against Dallas or whatever it was. Last week which was week 3, it was Devin Vassell against Dallas career high. Now, if this, is his career high, he becomes the 4th different Spurs player to kind of, push his career high numbers a little bit. So, that just goes to show that the ball is moving and
This is a career high. I just Googled it. He had
awesome.
17 against the Sixers last March, and tonight is 18. So
Awesome, man. Big ups for Drew. Where says Drew is trash? You're trash. All right. Yeah. You go play against the bigs in the NBA. There's a lot of bigs out there that wish they can get those minutes and do what he does, man. So yeah, the sky's the limit for Drew. All right, so we're gonna talk about some growth spots. That's some areas that we can still improve on moving forward when we get right back. Okay, so it can be from tonight's game, or it can just kind of be like moving forward type growth spot for you. Like we got a game on Friday, right, against Dallas. It's Dallas, right?
believe so.
For the
Yes,
third
yes,
time,
yes.
right? We got Dallas on Friday, so it can kind of be a little bit of like a foreshadowing growth spot or one from tonight. What's something that stood out for you?
So I have two things. One is a player, and one is like just an overall thing. I'll talk about that. So
Mhm.
just consistency overall in general. Obviously, that we saw that more tonight than we have in other games, but we need to see this continue. It really has to do with everything. It's the intensity. You saw that as the game progressed. You didn't just see that in the first quarter burst. It continued to happen as the game went on, even when Sacramento started throwing punches back. And in the
Mhm.
second half, De'Aaron Fox really got in rhythm. Also, our defensive rotations. We need to be consistent in those because there are times that we're having DeJounte matched up on Alex Len or whatever it may be. Some of that was KBD being out. So him coming back will kind of help with our, front court defensive rotations. But I'm going to get to my player here.
Mhm.
And on the Spurs night where everybody played great, it felt like Derek White found a way to not play well and score 2 points. And it's not even that, like you said, he's doing good things on defense every
Mhm.
game. It may
Mhm.
not be a perfect defensive game, but like overall, he's playing really solid on defense basically every game. Still passed the ball around, had 6 assists. If you want
Mhm.
to roll with the plus minus, I mean, he was still plus 12, like had a positive effect on the court. But he's just not finding his role and his space or whatever you want to call it in this offense. It's just like I remember like 2 years ago when we were like, can DeJounte and Derek play together? And then it was like last year, we saw the Charlotte game right before they got COVID. We saw a little bit more of that. There was a little bit more kind of PR that came out that like we want them to play together. We think they can play together. Separate just kind of dispelled it. And now it feels like we're back at the same place now that the keys to the car are in those two guys' hands. And, one is excelling very much and the other is unfortunately struggling in what everybody talks about and what everybody brings attention to, which is offense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm watching this game and I'm watching Derek White play, and honestly, there's times where I think, where's he? Like, why is like I can't look at the game and compare his like what I see to what I see in the stats. Like almost every night, because like again, the defense
Exactly.
is huge for me. It's huge for me. I'm like, I cannot not have that on the floor. And he was 1 for 6 tonight. What was he? 1 for 6? 1 for 6 tonight
Yeah.
from the field. He only took 6 shots. But in the game, I don't really find myself thinking like he needs to take more, or he needs to, like there's
It's just
or he should have taken it here, or he should have taken it there, because like you said, the 6 assists, he's playmaking, he's doing a great job finding Drew, he's doing a great job finding the bigs when he's attacking to the rim, but he's not being able to put the ball in the hole. Coach Pop talked about that if it was last game, I
yep.
believe, and they asked him
Yep.
about Derek, and he was like, Derek's having a very hard time, right, in a lot of different ways. But then he talked about him on defense and how he's like next level. But um, the question remains, yes, with those two guys, we've only seen in small samples. I love that Charlotte game reference. That was those of you guys that don't know what we're talking about, just go look at the highlights from last season of that Spurs versus Charlotte game, and they
My
combined for.
favorite game of last year.
I was about to say that was one of my favorite games too, man, because it was the juices were going. They
It's
were
right
they
before
were
the
going.
winter storm, if y'all remember that. It was the last
Yeah,
Spurs game before we were all locked inside.
man. Ironic, right? It was like
Yeah.
nature had it out for us, man, here in Texas
Hmm.
last year. But he took 2 threes, he missed them both. I
They
almost
weren't even
feel
bad misses too. Like that's the other thing with his threes. Sometimes I feel like they're just popping it out of the bucket. Like it's like, man,
it's like a touch thing. It's like a touch thing. It's a mental thing. It's not anything like where it concerns me too much. Honestly, it's even in losses, I don't ever like look at Derek, and it's kind of funny because in all these losses that we've covered so far in the growth spot, I don't ever bring him up. I don't ever bring him up, and I don't know why. I think it's just because when someone defends like he does, I don't want to knock him. Like
yeah.
I don't want to knock
You
him.
feel like he did his part. Like at the end of the
Exactly. Like
day, it's like
someone else score. Like someone
yeah,
else do the things
he's
because no one else is doing what he does.
like,
And I
why
always
is he
kind of
having to
have,
do it on both sides? Yeah.
but we need him to. And a lot of,
Yep.
I know you guys bring up his contract a lot and that he's the highest paid player and all this stuff like that. But look, like he's the highest paid player, but by a very small margin to
Yes.
DeJounte and even Doug McDermott, who's had a up and down year. He's getting paid just like as much as those two guys are, maybe like a million less, right? Like just they're real
That's
close
a
to
good
each
point.
other. You know what I mean? So, but the money,
I think that's why
it's
Spurs
not an
fans
issue.
are like clamoring, like why they're like, "Oh my gosh, Derek's not playing good and or he's not scoring." So they're like, and we're paying him all this money, like he needs to be doing what DeJounte's doing because DeJounte is killing it kind of on both sides of the court now that I
Man,
think about it.
DeJounte. Yeah, DeJounte is
So
taking the load right now. And look, we all know it. We know that during the season there's for everybody, there's highs and there's lows. And right now,
it's a
it's
great
it's
point
it's a
too.
low. It's a low for Derek White, but we're going to definitely need him like a lot throughout
He's
the
gonna have to
season.
be scoring, man.
Yeah, and I think they'll fall. I just feel like in his mind, he's like, I'm not gonna force it because I don't feel it. Like I'm not feeling it. There's gonna be a game where maybe I do, and maybe he lets it go a little bit more. But um consistency on the offensive end is definitely a growth spot for him in this whole season so far. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's I honestly I don't know, but I never see him as a negative. Let me see if he was a plus minus tonight. He was a plus
No, he's
12,
plus 12. Yeah, which is the
yeah.
crazy thing.
That's why, like, I was shout out to Zach Montana who was in the chat room earlier. He brought this up to an episode or two ago when he was on. He's like, I don't really trust the plus minus stat because you can't just use it by itself. It's like you have to also watch the game, and then you got to
Yeah,
use your eye
exactly.
test, and then you got to use your stats and whatever, and you kind of put them together. And to me, that's always like the case with Lonnie. I'm like, Lonnie's eye test never passes his, that they never correlate for me. But Derek White, I mean, I don't know, man. He's definitely a big growth spot for us. I don't want to like sound like,
We're 11 games in. It's
yeah,
like we need to give him his due diligence, but as of right now, we're gonna need him to step up in bigger games offensively.
yeah. And it's like his drives to me, the only real thing I see with Derek White where I'm like, oh, come on, Derek, is when he's driving to the hoop and he throws up some garbage, like,
Yeah,
away from contact or just misses a bunny or whatever. It's those drives at the rim where I feel like he doesn't even have it there right now. You know what I mean? So he's got to get it together for sure, man. Let me see. Growth spot moving forward for me. I'm kind of just looking long term here and just building off this performance tonight. Can we start building positive habits? Can we carry this into the next game? To me, that's the
is
growth
this
spot.
just a one-off? That's a
Yes,
great
I'm
point.
not gonna pick on this game. I told myself before the show started, I was like, I'm not gonna nitpick on anybody tonight. I was like, we won by 20 or whatever. It was a great night. I've been wanting the AT&T Center to kind of have a night like tonight. It's been a little while, so I was like, I'm not gonna get negative on it. So my big thing for the growth spot is just look, man, we got challenges, bro. Like these first 20, 40 games are not easy, and we're gonna have to do this against bad teams but more majority very good playoff teams, caliber teams in these first 20, 40 games. So it's just like, hey, Dallas is coming into the house on Friday. We're gonna be doing a show. I think Ethan's gonna be on with
Yes,
me,
he is.
right? So
Ethan
so
will.
those of you guys that are watching right now, make sure to go subscribe to where are you? There you are. Make sure you go and subscribe to SSPN, guys. SSPN on YouTube and then on Apple and Spotify as well, right?
Yes, sir.
So but your co-host Ethan's gonna be with me on Friday. So I would really hate for us to blow another close game against Dallas. Like, okay, let's build. Like, let's build. Let's close this one out. Let's go through a challenge. It's not going to be easy. Hopefully, we can kind of contain Brunson. That would be a big just positive moving forward. And just closing out a game, another win at home would be huge. I think for this team right now. To build something positive and go on a win streak, kind of going on into the future. So that's just my growth spot.
Absolutely.
Just don't leave it here, right? Like
Don't
just
make it a
don't
one-off.
yes,
Absolutely.
don't make it a one-off. And I'm looking at guys like Lonnie, I'm looking at guys like Forbes, I'm looking at McDermott, right? KJ, like the way he played tonight was perfect. And then like we can beat a bad team by 20 points with Derek White only scoring 2 points and Keldon Johnson only scoring 8 points. Again, the powers here on this team,
That's two
like
starters.
yes, that's 2 starters. That's what I'm saying. The bench was huge tonight, and
Yeah.
they were the difference. And there's going to be nights where it's flipped. The starters do great, and the bench struggles, and whatever. It's a roller coaster season.
Right.
Um, Murphy's Law. Anything that can happen will happen, right? Go check out the latest episode I dropped today. I had a lot of fun putting that one together. But yeah. So, anyways, just that's my growth spot, and let's just keep it rolling, Spurs Nation. All right, so that's gonna be it here tonight, guys. For this after the buzzer post game show. Jude, why don't you let everybody know where they can find you, man?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Jude McLaren. It's just my name, no spaces, no nothing like that, spelled right like it is here. And then you can also follow my co-host Ethan Quintero. It's just at Ethan_Quintero, and you can find us both on SSPN on YouTube or on Apple or Spotify. So if you missed one of the live shows or you're just driving somewhere, you want to listen to us, try us out, go check us out on the podcast platforms. And then also go watch our show on YouTube. We do some post games just like this. And we do some lives as well, just talking about the season and some other uploads and some other content that, isn't just a post game, but just kind of summarizes how everything is, like our latest video, which we just graded every player, their performance so far throughout the season. So if you love the Spurs just like we do, come check us out. Thanks for checking us out if you do. And that's all, Rob. Thanks for having me on, my guy.
No, man, it's been awesome. Thank you guys. Thank you for hopping on, man. I've been waiting for one of these wins. Like
Yes, much needed.
yes, because like on the last show, I think the last show we did was Dallas. It was Zach and I. And remember that one? It went on down to the wire, and I'm like, yes,
Again.
yes, let's go, let's go. Well, and then like, oh man, no one's gonna show up for this post game show. Like I'm like, we need some wins, man. We need people showing up, man, for after the buzzer. So, no, thank you guys for hanging out live though. I want to focus in on you guys right now. All 30, some of you guys that have been here tonight. I know it's a late episode. This show is one that we're going to be doing throughout the whole season. Right now, the schedule, I'll kind of be releasing it here and there on the website. So make sure you guys go ahead and check out SpursTubeTV.com. There's a lot of content there for you guys. It's gearing up to be like your hub, your Spurs content hub. Because a lot of you guys probably don't know of awesome content creators like Jude over here and over. Dang it, keep getting this wrong. Like Jude over here and Ethan over there.
Mirrored. I feel you.
Yeah, for sure. So, go check out the website, smash the subscribe button. We're close to 3K on this channel. We're going to get there sooner or later. So thank you guys for hanging out, Spurs Nation. That's going to be it tonight. And if you're listening to this on the podcast, thank you for listening to this. Appreciate you stopping by, and go Spurs go. Catch you guys on the next one. Friday. Adios, Spurs Nation.